back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob Ent podcast. Make sure you subscribe, rate us 5 stars. We not trying to just be here for a good time. We trying to be here for a long time. Fellas, how y'all doing tonight?
Good. Good, man. We're back for another one.
Straight NBA this episode. The Timberwolves, we got to talk about them extending the series. The Celtics, is it this year? Is it this the year that they actually get it done? We, of course, want to talk about the Lakers coaching search, Redick, James Borrego, whoever they choose, top duos, and Apple put out their all-time top 100 album list, which millions of people disagree with. So we're going to give y'all our favorite albums. Doesn't matter the genre or whatever. We're going to give you our favorite albums. But we're going to start off with the Timberwolves in that series with the Mavs. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. Only 4 teams have been able to force a game 7. Celtics last year most recently. 155 times, teams being up 3-0, they end up winning that series. The Mavericks have only outscored the Timberwolves, though, by 13 through these first 3 games. Have the Timberwolves prolonged the inevitable, or are they going to make history?
I think they prolong the inevitable unless Derek Lively can't come back in the series. I think the series changed when Derek Lively went down, primarily because Derek Lively, and I underrated this going into the series, his ability to change shots at the rim. I didn't see this coming at all. I didn't think that Gafford and Lively would control the series in the paint the way they have. I thought game 1 was an aberration. I thought that it was just a blip on the radar for the Timberwolves. They had a bad game because they just losing the rebounding battle repeatedly on the front line. And I thought that when the next game, Cat and Gobert would get over the game 7 hangover and play better, and it just never happened. It just didn't happen. They weren't even getting. It's not even about missing shots. It's just about getting rebounds and controlling the glass. And Gafford and Lively were outworking them all series long. And if we're being honest, people are going to talk about Luka and talk about Kyrie and talk about Ant and how Ant wasn't playing well and how Cat wasn't shooting well. I think the series was lost there. I thought they lost the series when they couldn't control the glass defensively and offensively with Gobert and Cat up against Lively and Gafford. I thought that was where the series was lost right there and won for the Dallas. Because even with those guys not playing well, with Kyrie and Ant with Ant and Cat not playing well, even with that being the case, those guys were up like in most of the games with 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left going into crunch time. And then Kyrie and Luka would just walk them down, right? Because we're getting offensive rebounds, we're getting kick, swing off offensive rebound. We're cleaning up the defensive glass and able to go and play on offense on the other side of the court. So that really surprised me. I think the Lively injury is a bigger deal than people would make it seem. Right? You think, you're missing Lively, whatever. He doesn't even start for us. And he doesn't have to start for to be your best big man. And he's been incredible his entire rookie year. And he's a big reason why, if not one of the biggest reasons why they're here, because they're here with a hampered Luka. Luka hasn't even been healthy. And it's been because of the defense with guys like Derrick Jones Jr. on the perimeter and a guy like Lively there controlling the paint and Gafford. Since Gafford got there, they took off. So it's been really interesting to watch the series, but I think they're going to come back to Dallas for Game 6. I do believe that. I think they're going to win in Minnesota. I think there's going to be a different juice in the arena that night. I think Cat seems to be snapping out of it a bit and making shots. And I think that they're going to be able to get into the paint at will with Lively out and only Gafford to deal with. And Maxi Kleber, he ain't healthy. If he ain't shooting threes, he can't do nothing. He can't shoot. His arm's still injured. So I think Minnesota will bring it back for Game 6, and we'll see what happens in Game 6 toss up. But I think Dallas will close it out in Dallas in Game 6.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna come back in the series and win it. Like last year, I honestly think the Celtics would have won if Tatum doesn't sprain his ankle in the first 10 seconds of that game. I think that's totally different. Like they flipped the switch and they had the series until that point. But this one, Anthony Edwards has been way too inconsistent. Cat I mean, can he stay out of foul trouble? I mean, I feel like we say this every single game. In the last game, he's lucky. He had like 5 fouls with like 6 minutes left in the third quarter. So I think you're not going to have a performance where Kyrie goes 3 for whatever, 15 again. I think he'll bounce back. Luka will have a better game. So all those factors help the Timberwolves win that game 5. Or no, game 4, my bad. But I think they should win the one in Minnesota. I think the crowd's going to be juiced up. There's going to be a lot of momentum. I feel like they can taste blood a little bit. Winning one game, they're like, all right, we saw one go in, so let's keep going at it. But I think, yeah, it'll end in Dallas in Game 6, and we'll have that finals of, a few storylines going with the Mavs and the Celtics.
You notice how I left room. I left room for a quick change there because I said it's a coin flip when they go back to Dallas. That game is a coin flip. You win Game 6, this things get real dicey because Game 7, all the pressure's on Dallas, and I'll take Minnesota to pull off history and be the first team to ever come back from 3-0 if it does go to a Game 7. But my bad.
I was just gonna say, last game Luka had 28, 15, and 10, but was 7 for 21. Kyrie had 16 points on 18 shots, 6 of 18. Lively is questionable for the next game for tomorrow when that game is. My thing is with the Timberwolves where I saw the biggest problem, rebounding, but I'm gonna have to look at Cat. I'm looking at Cat. Last series we said it was gonna be a series where Cat needed to show up. And it was Ant Edwards series. Last series was Ant Edwards series to go off to do his thing. Every series is not your series. You try to go with the mismatches. You try to exploit every mismatch that you can. In this series, Cat has the mismatch. Cat has not exploited that mismatch. The game that they won to avoid elimination was a different Cat that we saw all series. Game 4, Cat that we saw was more of a dog, less of a cat. 8 of the first 10 attempts that he had, his 10 buckets that he had, 8 of the first 10 were inside the paint. If they have any chance to make history, to win Game 5, win Game 6, win Game 7, they need Karl Anthony Towns to take advantage of his mismatch, post work, paint work, and then stretch out to shoot your 3-pointers, and then be able to then facilitate off doubles happening. This is his series. You got somebody 6'4", 6'5", or 6'6" guarding you, bruh. Cat struggling to score in the post. That's the X factor, I think, for them. Is Cat going to be aggressive? Is Cat going to actually get paint touches, get easy buckets? You're 7 feet with somebody 6'4", 6'5" guarding you. Settling for threes because you proclaim yourself to be the best shooting big man while Dirk Nowitzki is courtside at these games. I think he would have something to say about that. He actually has a ring. So until Cat actually does that, I don't think they win a series. And then we have those tough conversations, which we alluded to at the beginning of the playoffs. Maybe they don't need Cat. And Rudy. Rudy Gobert is unplayable in this series. You don't play him. Do not play. He's not impacting anything, and they're struggling with rebounds. And the least you could do is go get some rebounds. Rudy isn't giving you anything on offense, and he's not giving anything you on defense. Coaches, if it's Rudy, put the pride aside. Yes, he won the DPOY. That's a regular season award. If you got to bench the man, put him on the bench. If you have to, Kyle Anderson gave better minutes that last game, this whole series that we saw from Rudy. Kyle Anderson is giving you better minutes. Naz Reid is giving you better minutes than Rudy Gobert. And Cat, it's like you said, Miles, it's his whole career. Stay out of foul trouble, bro. It's some of the silliest, asinine, don't make no sense fouls coming from Karl Anthony Towns at year 26 of his career. Like, come on, bro. This is crazy, and it's not. It's like I said, it's silly foul, like reaching in. Why are you reaching in? Like you reaching in on guard. You're 7 feet tall. Anywho, is it the Celtics' year to actually win it? Throw out some stats out there. The Celtics will be the first preseason favorite to win an NBA Finals since the 2018 Warriors. They are 12-2 in the playoffs so far. Teams that have been 12-2 to start off the playoffs going into the finals are 76.5% chance to win it. There has only been 4 teams with a 12-2 record that actually did not win the NBA Finals. They've been 10-1 without Porzingis. Is this the year that the Celtics finally put it all together and win the championship?
For me, the answer is simply no. They're 12-2, yes, but it's a discounted 12-2. It's Food Town 12-2. It ain't real. All right, like these dudes over here, they played. They've gone through they've gone through an entire Eastern Conference with injuries at every single level to star players. When you look at Tyrese going down, you look at the series after before that is Donovan Mitchell going down as well. And look, the injury to the Bucks had with the Dame and also to Giannis made this path easier for them. The series we were looking forward to in the East from the beginning was Bucks Celtics, and we didn't get it because those two guys went down. I think if those two guys stayed healthy, Dame and Giannis, we get that Celtics Bucks series. That joint feeds families. We're in a good situation. We're getting good ratings on it. We're all watching the games and we're enjoying a good series, which inevitably would have gone 7 games with those two guys healthy. And we didn't get that. We were robbed because they both got hurt. And the Pacers shouldn't even have been there. But that's what it was. So when you look at it from that perspective, they didn't beat the best to get there. They beat who was in front of them. And kudos to them for that. But all the questions we have about that basketball team are still existent. They still there. And you got to think about it, right? Like you've been able to coast to the Eastern Conference up until this point. You're going to go play a battle-tested Dallas team or a battle-tested Minnesota team. It's likely going to be Dallas. And you're going to you don't got answers for that team. Like they're a better basketball team. They've had a tougher road to get here. They've got their top 2 guys are better than your top 2 guys in Kyrie and in Luka. Right, I think I mean, and we can go over Dallas's road to this point and compare it to the Celtics' road to this point. That's fine. I see the perplexed look on Miles' face, so we can do that. And if that's the point, we should have no problem. But for me, looking at that series, that potential series with Dallas, I'm going to take their interior play over yours with Gafford and Lively being able to control the glass over Horford. I'm going to take their ability to space the floor over yours with PJ Washington if you want to go small, and you in Kleba, who maybe he's feeling better and he can shoot the ball and you can go small 5-out offense. I think there's more ways they can attack you, and I think Luka is just a generational talent. He's better than either one of those 2 guys on your end with Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. He's better than either one. All right. And I don't know who's going to show up game to game, whether it's going to be Jason Tatum or JT from the City Girls. I don't know who's going to show up one way or the other. I'm not sure. So since I can't be sure of that, I'm taking Dallas in a potential series. And it's simply because they're the better team with 2 better top guys that are better in clutch moments. It's not so much about regular season play. It's not so much about, physical profile or shot profile. People will throw that stuff at me in the comments. It's about the big moments. I trust Kyrie and Luka in the big moments to close out big games. I do not trust Jason Tatum to do so. And we have an entire I can throw a book at you of moments where he's come up short, and he hasn't always been the case. But when you take 1 million threes per game as a team, you're going to have some bad games, and with those bad games, Dallas is going to pummel you. So it's just going to be tough for teams to for them to come back from that and for them to play that style of basketball in the finals. So I'd take Dallas.
By the way, before you go, Miles, is JT the one that's going to be answering questions on trial with the Diddy situation, or is that the other one?
In the City Girls, it's the other one. It's the other
one. Oh, okay.
What they got to do with Diddy?
No, like literally JT from the City Girls.
Yeah, I know. What they got to do with Diddy? What happened? I'm bugging. Different story for a different day.
One of them dated Diddy, so they're gonna be answering some questions.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that. I know Diddy been around.
Go ahead, Miles.
Yeah. No, I think Yeah, they've had a discounted road to the chip at this point. I mean, a couple teams have been a little banged up. You know, Miami losing Jimmy in the play-in game right before this changed that series a little bit, and then against the Pacers also you've got Tyrese getting hurt. Even though I don't think that would have mattered that much. Like his play is so sporadic. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but. And then against the Cavs too, like Donovan Mitchell missed a few games to end that series, and Jared Allen bowed out early. So, I mean, yeah, they had a discounted road, but I mean, you got to win the games, like you said, the games that are in front of you, and that's what they did. I mean, this team has been through the ringer over the years, but I think all those times losing are going to help them in this situation. Like, I do think they're going to finish the job this time around. I just think they've got too much to lose. Like, this is the biggest moment for JT. This is the biggest moment for Jaylen Brown. You've got a perfect complementary role player star in Drew Holiday and Derek White also. So that adds a different wrinkle for the Mavericks because, I mean, you got those two guys to kind of mess with Kyrie a little bit, and then, probably Jaylen Brown's going to be on Luka. So I don't think it's going to be easy for them to just like run right through the Celtics. I think, if they're hitting their threes, then they should wash whoever they play. Because I just think that they're the best team in the NBA, and they've been that way the whole year. And I mean, I don't think the Timberwolves are going to win this series. So if it's Celtics Mavs, I mean, Mavs are a little banged up. They're at the disadvantage already. So I do think this is the year that they get over the hump. It'll be interesting to see who's the 1A in this series, JT or Jaylen Brown. I mean,
it'll be Jaylen Brown.
I do think Jason Tatum had a really good series in the last series. Right after I had said that he was going to, ball out.
Who you play against?
Who you play against? The team that's in front of him.
Oh, you play against? He had a great series playing against, who? Ben Shepherd? Whatever, bro.
Hey, question, right?
Was the one running around? It was Neesmith, who's been pretty good defensively the whole playoff. So
Neesmith, what did Westbrook say? Neesmith trick y'all. You run around, he ain't doing nothing.
Would you? Speaking of that, though, would you say Jaylen Brown actually had a better series than Tatum, or was it that Jaylen Brown saw favorable matchups versus Tatum was seeing double teams?
I feel like both things could be true. I mean, I do think Jason Tatum gets a lot of the attention because he's the guy, and it does help Jaylen Brown because he's not going to get as much attention, and he can really feed off that. Like, he had a 40-point game, I think in game 2 or 3 in that series, and then the closeout game had 29. But like Jason Tatum, I mean, he played really well in this series. Like, had a 33-point game in game 1, 36, and he's been doing more than just scoring, like rebounding. He almost had a triple-double in the closeout game. So, I mean, you can't just say it was just scoring. Like, he was one-dimensional. He was kind of doing it all, and he plays good defense. So, it was a coin flip for who could win that award. And then it was funny, ESPN trying to, play it up like, oh, was he not happy for him that he won the award? I'm like, really? Do you guys have nothing to talk? I mean, I know there's like the season's dwindling at this point, but like, what are we doing?
They don't though, Miles. It's a very boring situation here for the people who are narrative driven. There's no captivating superstar that's moving the needle in that way left in this thing besides Kyrie. And Kyrie, when Kyrie's not talking about the sun god or whatever, he not moving needles for people. So it's just the reality of it. There's not much to talk about. And Celtics Pacers, come on. You'd rather watch paint dry, especially with Tyrese being out.
You could have came up with something better though. like, I don't know who's in these meetings, bro. Who's the producers? Y'all really zoomed in on Tatum with a smile on his face, talking about he wasn't as happy, and y'all try to edit and clip out at the beginning that he was one of the hands shaking Jaylen Brown's head, like saying "good job." Come on, man. They've been trying to do that narrative of getting rid of these two black men for what, since day one, essentially. Like it's really getting old. I mean, they're the conglomerate, so it's still gonna be watched and whatnot, but it's nasty work. It's nasty. Or even the whole Stephen A situation, bruh. That with Jaylen Brown not being marketable. Is it word on the street? They saying that Stephen A made that source up.
I mean, I read somewhere that he's basically, I mean, because he's always saying he's a journalist and all that stuff. And yeah, once upon a time he was, but I don't think that's his focus at this point. It's to like sell ratings and sell his show and his podcast and get clicks and all that stuff because it's real click based at this point. So he does this thing where it's like a lot of gossip, like where he'll throw out an unnamed source, which it doesn't feel like it's unnamed. It feels like it's you saying this, but because you say unnamed, you don't, it could be Joe Schmo from Kentucky saying this, like on Twitter, but because you put unnamed on it, it's okay. That's why, I mean, I understand where Isaiah Thomas was coming from, Jaylen Brown saying like state your source, because I mean, one, he's gonna allege that he can't do that because it's improper journalism, but at the same time, like you do this in every single sport that you cover. Football, you'll start stuff about different players. NBA, same thing. Like it's always a quick monologue about, oh, I heard from an unknown or unnamed NBA scout source on Bronny, and I'm not going down that road again, Bronny, but Stephen A is just I can't watch First Take anymore. Like I'm over it. Like it's one of those shows that is not interesting to me. Like him bringing Shannon Sharp on, I don't think it made the show any better. Like I felt like Max Kellerman was probably the best for that show, but I mean that's barking up the wrong tree there. Don't come at me, Stephen A.
Man, I agree though, because we've all been taught this though as kids. Some things don't need to be said. He says the thing that doesn't need to be said and then proceeds afterwards to try to defend the player and whatnot. Like, that's not how I feel though. You didn't have to say it though. There was no need to say that with Jaylen Brown, and then y'all spent the next 10 minutes saying Jaylen Brown is a stand-up guy and he is marketable. Then you could have just left it at that, but y'all ain't had nothing to talk about, so you had to set it up with the unnamed source to then have a whole segment on the show to talk about it, even though that I don't always agree with Rashad McCants, but I kind of agree with Rashad McCants. If you're not naming your source, this seems real Stephen A is the source energy.
That's why it's so funny when like JJ Redick would be on the show and he would call him out for all the BS. And like I know Stephen A hated it because he's like, yo, this is my show. You're messing with my flow. Even though JJ is 100% right in calling him out for his BS, like Stephen A is also right because it's like this is a show. We've got to draw listeners somehow. But like, I don't know. I guess I got to find a different channel or something, or like just keep watching these podcasts because the podcasts are a lot more interesting. Like the player podcast. Besides, Draymond, I can't stand listening to Draymond at this point. Even on Inside the NBA.
Why did they do that? Because
like it ruined it. Like no wonder that the network didn't try to pay money for it. They're like, yo, if we could tank this, we'll just put Draymond on. People lose interest, and then bye Inside the NBA. But it's a tragic end to like such a great show. But hey, Draymond killing another dynasty.
And look, I was just gonna. I actually, when I heard Stephen A. Smith say that Jaylen Brown isn't marketable, I agree. I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was him or someone else, but I bet. Are you buying Jaylen Brown sneakers? I can't imagine those are very appealing. I can't imagine that they're very appealing paraphernalia you selling and all that stuff for him. Like, it ain't it.
Paraphernalia.
I'm not saying Jaylen Brown would be the top seller sneaker out on the business. I agree with.
Top selling.
I agree with Zeke though. Like, you do this too often, Stephen A. I need you to name your source. This seems like cat.
Hey man, look, I'm just saying if he's the guy who is the best player on the Celtics come this series, if him or Derek White are the best player in this series, don't be surprised in the finals, because Jason Tatum has shown me too many times that I can't rely on that guy. You can go grab rebounds, do other things. That's great. That's what they tell you to do when you're coming up and you're starting to play this game at a young age. If you're not scoring, go get a rebound, go cut, go set a screen, go do other things with other people. I don't take that for granted. But what are we looking at Jason Tatum as? Isn't he supposed to be like one of them ones, like Hall of Fame level player, like face of the franchise type guy? If that's what it is, you show up in the big moments. That's all I'm saying. And for all the stuff that Paul Pierce didn't have, like Paul Pierce was nice. And when they won a championship and they needed a bucket, they went to him, and he did answer the bell in that championship run multiple times. I don't know about Jason Tatum in that way. I'm sorry, like I don't know. Like, and I think it's fair for me to have questions about him. It's fair for me to have questions about his ability to show up in the big moment, because we've seen it too many times, and it's just the up and down play. It's the up and down play. Your highs are really high, your lows are really low. Like, they're really low. You're inconsistent. You're not in the middle at all. And what is it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not in the middle enough. And so I just have my questions about Jason Tatum in that regard, and in a big moment playing against Dallas. I don't trust them. I just don't trust them. I think if Porzingis is back, it's going to help them, and they're a better team from a construction standpoint. But what's in your chest though? Because that's going to win you a series, because it's going to be close. So what's in your chest in those big moments? And I don't trust what's in your chest right now. I think we're going to see a lot of JT City Girls appearances in this series. We're going to see at least 2 of them.
The thing is, I agree with Miles before you transition. I agree with Miles that they'll get it done this year, because I think they have the better team. Saying that, obviously, if they see the Mavs, yes, they're up 3-1, but this series actually could be 2-2. It could be 3-1 on the flip side. All of the games have been close. I think what the main factor is Minnesota hasn't been there. So this is the year where they figure out how to actually win, where they figure, oh, we took that loss. Next year we're going to come back even better. We might see them in the finals, 55-win type season. This is that year. The year of that pain that's needed before they get to that next level. That's all it is. It's the last 5 minutes. And Kyrie has been there time and time again. And Luka is a generational talent. You look at Minnesota on the other side, if Ant not doing his thing and Cat's not shooting that 3, they don't really have closers like that. Cat's not really a closer. And you see how they've been defending Ant-Man this whole series.
Yeah.
So
it's a different ball game. Different, when you go play the Celtics and as a Mavs, it's a very different situation, like you're saying. But I can't. I'm gonna say the same thing again. I don't want to be redundant for the people listening, and I just can't get over it. I can't get over it. It's just hard for me to get over it with that basketball team. And I do think there's ways you can attack them, especially if you're gonna play Horford. There are ways you can attack Horford. We can get switches. If we can attack Horford, we can definitely do that. And if Kyrie's cooking, he really is unguardable when he gets going. This is the reality. He's unguardable when he gets going. You force him left. I have a left hand float game. What? That's ridiculous as a righty. Okay, you force me right. Dominant hand. I'm gonna kill you. I can shoot. I can stop on the dime. I can do whatever I need to do. I can go any direction I need to go. I can zig. I can zag. It don't matter. There's nothing he can't do, and there's no place on the floor he can't get to whenever he wants to get there. So I can't say. I think Tatum should be just as dominant, right? He has all the tools, but he just is not consistently dominant enough. And I don't know that the guys are going to pick you up enough for you to win that series if Luka is also coming to the party. And don't get it twisted. Luka won't show up. So I don't know, man. And also, I think the Timberwolves present better perimeter defenders than the Celtics do. When Jaden McDaniels and Ant-Man and even Nikhil Alexander-Walker, they can throw more at you, more guys that can defend at a high level. If you're looking at it the other way around for Dallas can throw what's his name, Derrick Jones Jr. Derrick Jones Jr. at him, and PJ Washington at these guys, and they can mix it up a little bit in that aspect. Josh Green as well can get in the mix. They can throw different defenders at Jason Tatum and also at Jaylen Brown, and they're going to take a million threes and they're going to defend themselves in a lot of aspects. You take a million threes, those things aren't falling, man. You're going to lose. You're playing Russian roulette. Every time you're taking a million threes, you take 40, 50 threes in a game, you're literally going to the slot machine and hoping you hit. It's like a drug. It's like a drug. You just fall in love with the three ball, So I don't know, man. I have my doubts about the Celtics and just the way that they play the game. And I know, Tone, I know you've said the similar things is what I'm saying, but that's just how I feel about them. I don't trust them. I think they're fugazi. Good team, but bad philosophy.
I think it happens this year because also too, like we mentioned, Luka's showing up a couple games, this series, but Luka still isn't healthy. Derek Lively, I think that's a big factor. And of course, for those that's watching and listening, we're going to revisit this actually once the finals is set, because the information might change. And if the information changes, our opinions, our picks might change, because Derek Lively playing is going to be huge. Porzingis' health is going to be huge. How many games it goes. If we talking about this goes to a 6 or a 7 series, that's a change factor right there too, because they're going to be tired coming into the season to the next series in the finals, where the Celtics are going to have about 10 days, they said, 11 days of rest. And Porzingis is basically going to have a month off getting ready. Yeah. We'll revisit this next week once the finals is set in stone. One thing that is not set in stone yet, and they are doing a lot of search supposedly, even though it is said that basically the job is his, the Lakers head coaching search, reported by Chris Haynes. He said he'd be surprised, he'd be shocked if JJ Redick was not the next head coach, with Rajon Rondo also as rumored to be a part of this coaching staff. Who gives the Lakers the best chance to back to prominence? Is JJ Redick the option? Ty Lue just signed a 5-year contract extension, so that's not an option anymore. You got other candidates: Chris Quinn from the Heat's coaching staff, Kenny Atkinson, Terry Stotts, Mike D'Antoni, Mark Jackson still out there, James Borrego, Jared Dudley from the Mavs, Sam Cassell from the Celtics.
I just feel like it's going to be JJ at this point. I mean, if there's smoke, there's fire. And I just think that the more they talk about it, I'm sure they're in negotiations. And I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be covering the finals too. So I don't know if he'll wait until after the finals are over. But I just think it's behind closed doors, I think it's a done deal. I think that's why you're starting to hear who he would allegedly have on his coaching staff as far as assistant coaches like Rondo. So I do think it's an interesting hire just because he's a young guy, fresh out, maybe a couple years out of the NBA. I mean, of course, he does a great job on the old man and the three. And then, of course, now with him and LeBron's podcast. So he knows how to break down film and he knows what he's talking about. He's one of the more well-versed analysts of basketball out there. So he has that going for him. But then it's a different, it's different from watching film to then going to coach a game and then having to make these split decisions in the moment. So at this point, I don't think it really matters who the Lakers hire. I mean, Bron's going to be here for another couple years, and then that's it. I mean, it feels like this is more of something it's someone who's cool with Bron and that'll help him make a better decision in free agency. Although I'd love for Bron to just play out free agency, meet with teams, and figure it out like that. But I think this is all posturing, and he's going to be back with the Lakers. So
Yeah, I think it's a leverage move.
yeah.
Hey, Greg, before you talk about the coaching candidacy, do you think that Bron has been put at a disadvantage in his career with some of the coaches that he's had? It's not like MJ where he had Phil Jackson for a nice chunk of his career, and Kobe that had Phil Jackson that had for a bunch of his career. The Celtics when they had Bill Russell, Doc Rivers the 1 year that they won. LeBron's career, his coaches on the list of coaches he's had: Paul Silas, Brendan Malone, Mike Brown. That's the first stint with the Cavs. The Heat, he had Spo. Then when he went back to the Cavs, David Blatt, Ty Lue. Lakers, it's been Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, Darvin Ham. And looking at the list of coaches, Spo and Ty Lue, top of the top. Everybody else,
Yeah. I mean, the story of his career is that he's done more with less than any other superstar or all-time great player ever, and that's really the story of his greatness, is that he's taken scraps. No offense to the guys that we're talking about, feels crazy to say that, but he's taken scraps and he's made lemonade. He's taken lemons and made lemonade, and he's done it his entire career. So I think there's definitely something to that. He didn't go into a ready-made situation to win in Cleveland, and it's been the case throughout his career. He didn't do that when he went to LA and they got AD and things changed. But the David Blatt situation, right? He made a finals run with David Blatt, and I believe in 2015 he was coaching that team, and that was the year that if Kyrie and if Kevin Love don't get hurt, right, that they're winning a championship. They're winning a championship that year. And I firmly believe that LeBron would have 5 rings if not for those 2 injuries to Kevin Love and Kyrie in 2015. So I think that's very fair to say. I think that he gets a lot of blame for like, oh yeah, well, we're not naive. We know he's picking the coach. We know he's this, he's that. I don't know, man. I mean, yes, he has throughout his career. There's no doubt about it. He has had his hand in things. He had his hand in the Russell Westbrook situation. That's been proven. We know that was a mistake. If I knew LeBron, he needed to hire me, I'd have told him, yo, chill, man. Don't bring that guy. Don't bring him here. Don't do that. But in all seriousness, I think, he's done a lot to kind of separate himself from the JJ Redick rumors recently that's coming out. And I do think that with the Lakers, this is different than what has been throughout his career. I don't think that the Lakers have just listened to everything LeBron had said blindly. I think you're fooling yourself if that's the case. The Lakers are a made brand. They don't need LeBron James. That's not the way they don't feel that way. And they're right. They don't need LeBron James to be the brand that they are. Kobe and Magic and Kareem, and Shaq, they built that house already. It's been built. The foundation's there. They've built it. So they don't need LeBron, to necessarily prop forward what they've got going on. LeBron has saved them from some pretty dark days before he got there. It was pretty bad, but he wanted Ty Lue. They were in negotiations with Ty Lue. Ty Lue wanted more money. They said no. They're like, we don't need you. We're good. We're good. And we'd be having a different conversation right now if Ty Lue was the coach of this team. I think we can all say that pretty comfortably. So I do think there's something to it. I think the Lakers do their own thing. And by the way, we're talking to a base of people that are younger and some people are older, tap into our stuff. But with the Lakers documentaries that we've seen, the HBO Max Showtime joint, like the Lakers are the kind of organization that do go out and hire JJ Redick. That's what they do. That's exactly who they are. They've been that way their entire. We've been told, we've seen it. The Pat Riley hire was very much the kind of the same type of thing, right? They're just repeating history, and it's the same people running the organization. Like Jeannie Buss saw her dad do that. She saw it, so she's just gonna do what she saw her dad do, right? Oh, I like JJ Redick. He is good good head of hair on him. He can talk basketball. Him and LeBron seem to get along pretty well. Charismatic. Let's do it. Let's see how it goes. And if it don't work out, we'll just blame LeBron. And this is the thing that's sinister about the whole thing to me is like, I think the Lakers are using LeBron as like a scapegoat in these situations. No one will look at LeBron as a sympathetic figure. No one. So it's genius. Like even if it's all right in front of you, you're not going to do that. You're just going to be like, oh, it's LeBron's fault. He's the GM. LeGM, it's his fault. And they know that. They know that narrative's out there. So they're just going to use it to their advantage and cover up their mess ups. I don't think LeBron's pushing behind the scenes for the Lakers to do anything. I actually think LeBron at this point is like, look, I got 2 years left. If I win another championship, y'all still gonna say I'm not the GOAT. People who don't like me. If I don't win another championship, the conversation stays the same anyways. There's nothing I can do to close the gap with Jordan for people that still think Jordan is the GOAT. If you still think Jordan's the GOAT, one more chip isn't going to change that. I could have won 6, and people would still think that Jordan was the GOAT. So I think for him, he's like resigned. So I actually believe that. I think he wants to win, but it's like, I got 2 years left. My son's getting in the NBA. Me and him are going to be playing at the same time. And by the way, don't do that, Miles. and by the way, so I just feel like at this point, I think LeBron's taking a back seat in this aspect at this point. But if I were him, I'd look to leave. I'd look to explore other options where you have a more ready-made situation to win. That was what I would want to do. But I understand you build $100 million compound in LA. Savannah's had her own podcast. She's made herself at home. And Savannah ain't going nowhere she don't want to go. Reality situation. So I get that. And you owe Savannah that much at this point in your life. She's made a lot of sacrifices. So I understand LeBron staying in there, but I don't like it. I wish he'd go somewhere else. I wish he'd go to maybe the Sixers or something and go give this thing a real run at another ring or so. But I hate watching him lose, but I understand where his logic is, where it's like, what's another ring going to do for me? They're not going to change their minds. They're not. LeBron been the GOAT to me since 2016 when he walked down that 73-win team. But for some people, that ain't the case. Do I have the year right? 2016, right? So it's definitely 2016. I wouldn't forget. I know exactly where I was. You know what I'm saying? Just the reality of it. But that's my 2 cents.
Before we transition, though, like, do you think Miles or Greg, him winning the championship is done? Because me personally, as a Lakers fan, I don't see the path where the Lakers become a championship contending team, especially now. I ain't counting his pockets. I'm not telling him to take anything less, but especially with the predicted contract that he's supposed to get, somewhere around 2-year, 162. I don't, like they said, they were trying to get depth. I don't know how you're going to get depth, Lakers, with a contract like that, and they're going to pay him that if he wants it. So I don't see anywhere possibly actually winning a championship in the next 2 years for Bron before you leave.
I mean, I feel like if he's not taking a pay cut, your answer's in that contract. Like, this is him saying, like, I just want to be a Laker until the end of my career. If we win a chip, so be it. But I'm getting up there. AD's body's the same age as me. Like, that's how it is. Like, it's not gonna change. And he'd have to take a pretty steep pay cut for them to add like a third star. But
right.
At the same time, like, with this second apron that teams are trying to avoid hitting, it doesn't make sense to bring in, a third star. I mean, look at the Suns. So I'm pretty sure that's what the Lakers are doing. Like, you don't have to look far. They're like the next state over. You can see the mess that they've made. So why double down and do that same thing? I do think it's smart to try to go after depth and try to figure that out. Like, they do have some pieces to trade. I did see they don't want to trade Reeves, which, I mean, they don't want to make that Caruso mistake again. So I understand it. But if you're really trying to win, sometimes you got to move some of your like better pieces to trying to figure out the roster as a whole. So, I mean, it's an interesting spot that they're in. Who knows? Maybe DeMar takes a discount to come back to LA.
You think do you think so? If they don't win a championship from this point on,
they're not.
We're blaming. Okay, all right, Raven, relax. So if they don't win a championship from this point on, then we're blaming it on LeBron not taking a pay cut. That's what we think it is.
I'm not blaming. I'm saying he shouldn't have to take a pay cut. Like,
that's kind of mine.
Yeah,
that's what I'm not counting. I'm not gonna count his pockets and he's made enough money. I'm saying if the goal is to win and LeBron decides that he wants that contract, winning isn't going to happen. That's all I'm saying. Like, not telling Bron take less money. Screw the owners. The owners making billions, and Jeannie Buss has done a terrible job over the last decade. Being completely honest, Rob Pelinka has done a terrible job. Hey, get your money. I'm just saying, same thing y'all said. If he wants to win, I would love for him to leave. Go somewhere else, because the Lakers are not set up to win at all. Even if they give him, even if he were to take a pay cut, I don't trust the front office. I don't trust their decision making. I don't trust their roster construction. It is absolutely terrible and garbage. So no, I would rather him go leave. But like you said, Savannah done got the podcast. She on there dancing. Nah, y'all not going nowhere. Y'all not going anywhere.
To me, where this thing was doomed was when AD clearly did not become their best player. The fact that LeBron is still their best player, most nights and in big moments and in high pressure games, LeBron is their best player, is where this whole thing fell apart, in my opinion. AD needed to take the step that we hoped he'd take when he got there, when the clutch brought him to LA, right? And he, in the first year, in the bubble year, it looked awesome. It looked like, yeah, we're on the right track. And then he came back overweight, and then the jump shot just disappeared. Like, his ability to make the perimeter 3-point shot at a decent clip disappeared. It's one of those things that people don't talk about with him, and it just hurts me to see it, because the athleticism isn't the same either. It has dissipated a little bit, but that's not the thing that's killing him. It's the ability to knock down a 3-point shot, because he was impossible to guard when he could shoot from that distance at a nice clip. It made him impossible. It was a matchup nightmare. You know what I'm saying? It's like having a stretch five, but you can still sit him in the paint and he can blow up actions like a all-world defensive player at the same time. How many teams have that? AD, his value is incredible. And so when he can knock down a three, and he's still a very good player, an elite player, but like, he's taking his foot off the gas. And when you lose the ability to shoot the ball the way he did, like from three at the same clip, and people can look at the numbers, act like I'm crazy. It's there. But like, when you do that, it tells me you're not working. In the summer, you're not working the same way. Like, you got complacent. Like, you won, and you're like, oh, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Like, you don't have the mentality of a LeBron where it's like, I'm trying to stack rings. And I think LeBron realized that in AD, like, very early on in the process, and was like, you know what? So why I'm gonna take a pay cut for what? He not holding up his part of the bargain. When I took a pay cut in Miami with D Wade and them dudes, I knew D Wade was coming to the party. I knew D Wade was going to show up and do whatever it took to win. He was a killer. He's just like me. He wants to win. I know that. So I'm willing to take a pay cut in that situation. That's fine. But why would he do it here? Like, and to Tone's point, I think a lot of what Tone's saying is around this. Like, it's the AD thing. I think we talk about everybody else. We talk about Pelinka. We talk about Jeannie Buss, who's done a horrible job. She runs the Lakers like a poverty franchise, and no one really talks about it because they're not making the amount of money they should be making, because she has no other streams of revenue. But that's a whole different conversation. She's not the businessman that her father was. She is not. Right? But it has to start with AD, in my opinion. When his game took a step back, it made it really hard to build around those two guys, because LeBron is aging and he's still your best player. It's a bad problem to have. LeBron needs to be number 2 now, and he can still take over in big moments. But that's not the situation the Lakers are in, because AD got complacent. He lives in Beverly Hills. He's happy. He's good. He don't care. Like, he does not care. It's not in his actions. He may say he does. He may say all the right things to the media, but it's not in his actions. And I think that when we talk about the Lakers and the downfall of this era of basketball for them, like, and why we didn't get more rings from these two, it's AD's fault. I firmly believe that. I will stand by that forever. I think it's just obvious.
I said at the beginning of, I think it was this season or last season.
Yeah.
They asked AD, they said, hey, going into the offseason, you going to do anything different to make sure you don't miss any games? Granted, he did play, something on the end of 70 games this year. But he said, no, I'm not going to do anything differently.
Yeah.
That, I said at the beginning, that to me was a huge concern Up until this season, the health was a concern. You being on the court was a concern. Y'all kept telling everybody who would listen, if we have AD and Bron healthy, can't nobody beat us. If we had AD and Bron healthy, can't nobody beat us. And you say that you're not going to change anything in your summer regimen? You fought Frank Vogel and the rest of the coaching staff and the front office that I don't want to play the five. I hate playing the five, but when you played the five, they won a championship. I'm confused. If that's what was the equation for you to win, I would play the 5, the 3, the 6, and the 7, whatever I had to play to win. If that's what worked, you keep doing what worked to win. When I heard that, that's why I was like, and trading him at this point, I think they're going to keep him just because the Lakers are going to try to make him the face once Bron.
Yes.
Once Bron leaves, they need a big name. That's what the Lakers are all about. Yep. They want a big name to still be there, unless something else comes up, some other big name that comes up that's more suitable. AD's going to probably retire a Laker, and I had to say this, and we could revisit it when next year, whenever he retires. He's not going to be in that conversation of all-time great Lakers, great Lakers big men. Kareem, Shaq, George Mikan. He's not in that conversation. More than Bron, where people say, "Oh, Bron's one ring isn't enough for a Laker." I'd put that conversation more so even with AD.
Right.
You coming with Bron was supposed to be Bron. He learned his lesson from Miami, but you coming with Bron was supposed to be not 1, not 2, not. That's what it was supposed to be with AD coming. And that's not what it's been at all.
Nope. It was supposed to be a crazy 1-2 punch with nice depth around it, and that was sustainable for at least 4 years. And beyond that, when LeBron was done and AD took a step back because he got lazy. And it's because he got lazy. And that's my problem with him. It's not because of like injuries or physical limitations. You got lazy. And so that's my biggest issue. It's a work thing. It's the stuff you're doing in the offseason. It's not getting enough shots up. You're doing other stuff. Something is wrong because you don't go from being the all-world player you were in 2020 when you first got there to now. You just don't. You don't take a step back with your shooting to that degree. It just doesn't make sense to me. I can't make that make sense. So yeah, I don't blame LeBron for the lack of championships at this point. What did you expect? He's gonna take a step back a little bit as he gets older, as we get to the 40-year mark for him, like 40 years old. Like it's just natural. And even now he's still their best player. Like, what are we doing? So if LeBron were really serious about winning, we're not talking about a pay cut. We talk about him going somewhere else. You got to go somewhere else where you can ride off and be Robin for a little bit. That's what you needed at that point. And he just won't do it. And I understand he won't do it. So I've already made my peace. I expect to see him go on his farewell tour as a Laker. And I think the Lakers are going to love it because they're going to make a lot of money, which Jeannie seems to be having issues with these days. They're going to make a ton of money. And I think people misguide their frustration. Smart Laker fans are frustrated with the front office and frustrated with Jeannie Buss. And that's who you should be frustrated with because they run this organization like it's a damn reality TV show. That's what it's about. It ain't about nothing else but appealing to the masses by making moves that people are going to talk about. It's about being in the news. It's the curse. It's the disease of being in LA. It's the disease of Hollywood.
It's very much Cowboys-esque.
It is. It 100% is. At least you won one because you had LeBron and you still had LeBron in the end of his prime time with AD playing the way he played. You got a ring, but like Lakers fans don't care about that. They care about their fan base that's been spoiled with multiple rings. I mean, come on. They didn't expect one from this tenure here with LeBron. But blame Jeannie and them people and blame AD because that's where you got to look. That's just the reality of it.
Now, you talk about those two, which should have been in the conversation as one of the top duos in the league for year after year after year. But we've been having conversations about Nikola and Jamal Murray. And we've been having conversations about, what about D-Book and KD and all these different duos that's going on in the league. All time, who are your top 5, your favorite duos I'll start it off, and then you guys can take it away. I got Shaq and Kobe for my number one, MJ and Scotty, 3 Kareem and Magic, 4 a lot of people forget about them because it was boring to watch and it wasn't the most interesting thing. But Timmy D and Tony Parker, that combo, they won a lot. That's all that matters. They got them rings. And lastly, a lot of people don't bring them up. And would you say they're the best? Maybe they're not top 5, but I like them so much. One of the most dangerous backcourts in all of NBA history, Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. That duo, especially being that they were under 6'5", 2 guards to actually go win a championship, I think that was huge. So that rounds up my list right there.
We naming 10?
No, just 5.
I like, yeah. You're oh god.
I mean, shoot, my list would be the same except for the Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. I'd probably swap them out for like Bron and Dwayne Wade, just because I think if they had stuck together, who knows? Maybe they would have won a few more. And honestly, if they were more focused, I guess, in that first year, they should have had 3. But I mean, they made the finals every single year that Bron was in Miami. So if not for some dominant Spurs teams that they had to go up against, and Ray Allen did help in that one series. You know that series, but Bron and Wade, that's iconic. That's an iconic duo.
That was iconic. Yeah.
We still got that one picture of the alley oop, or not even the alley oop, just the pass. Iconic picture. So I had to add them in there too.
Hey, that's Pat Riley's fault too, because he wouldn't let Bron have his chocolate chip cookies on the plane. But go ahead, Greg.
Well, LeBron and Wade, putting them in the top 10 is a little rich for me, primarily because Wade didn't sustain an elite level of play long enough with LeBron for me to say, okay, like top 10 duo worthy. I think their peak was all time. I mean, if you're just going off peaks, yes, they're top 10. They're probably top 5 off peak. They were really hard for teams to deal with, especially when Chris Bosh learned, hey man, let me get a brain cell and start shooting threes like in the corner and just spacing the floor a little bit for these guys to cut and gash defenses and tear them apart. So yeah, I think if I see the vision with Miles. I see where he's going with it. I would agree with Tone's list. Shaq and Kobe, to me, in my lifetime, that I could see. I did not see Scotty. I did not see Michael, and they are certainly top 10. Of course they are. They probably number 1. Whatever you want to say. All right, cool.
I know you want to say Stockton and what's his name?
You can make a case for those two, though. You can make a case for those two. Why not? They had a lot of success. They ain't win no ring, but they had a ton of success. You can make a case for them for real. But what was I saying before Miles rudely interrupted me? I was saying
Shaq and Kobe was the best that you've seen in your era.
Shaq and Kobe the best. Yeah, because they were just dominant. I mean, all you had to do was throw the ball down Shaq. It was an inside-out game that was incredible, and Shaq was just the most dominant player of all time. Obviously, as we all know, the story writes itself. We know what it is. So I think those two in my lifetime would have to be number 1 for me. For number 1, if we're doing modern day type mix, modern day type duos, I think Steph and Klay deserve some real love. Before Klay, unfortunately, lost a limb. I think I think that it with him, and Steph, it was just really tough for teams to guard 2 of the greatest shooters to ever play at the same time. You could certainly Steph and KD certainly was belong in the conversation. I saw Miles just put that in the chat. I think that's very fair. I think KD is a whore for making that decision and going there, but you look, they were tough to stop when he was there. And the problem too is, this is making me sick. Steph and Klay were already a top 10 duo of our lifetime together. They had established it at that point. And this hoe went there and joined those two. He said, no, let me go join them. Let me go join them and one of the greatest glue guys of all time in Draymond Green. I'm going to go join that instead after losing to them the year before. I get a headache every time I talk about it. It makes me sick. But yeah, I think you can say Steph and KD certainly belong in the conversation. I think that's very fair. I think they deserve some love in the conversation as well. I'm trying to think of just outside the box duos in our time that have been pretty good. I think the Spurs never really had a duo. It's by committee. It was Duncan and brothers, Duncan and Sons. That's what it was, Duncan and Sons for years. And everybody else just came along for the ride. So I can't say the Spurs had a duo that was dominant in our lifetime.
David Robinson and Duncan.
Who?
David Robinson and Duncan.
How long was that though? I think the Duncan came in, and then David Robinson went, but Robinson went back to the Army or something right after. Like it was it was over as quick as fast as it started. But I mean, if you want to do that, we can do that too. That's fair. I think one of the better duos that is underrated that we don't talk about, and I know they didn't win a ring, but it fed families, specifically in the New Jersey area. Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, so much fun to watch. Iconic duo. I mean, the highlight reel is insane. If you just get bored and want to go look up something to go pass some time, go look up Jason Kidd and Vince Carter duo just mixes on YouTube. It is so much fun to watch. Those guys were amazing, and for me, have a special place in my heart being a Nets fan. But I really enjoyed watching those two. Take me back to the glory days of the Nets when things were great. Make the Nets great again. So I think that would certainly be one of my top duos too. I love those two.
Speaking of that, you definitely put Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. Maybe talking about that highlight reel. Those two up there for sure.
We did some winning now. And I ain't just talking about highlights. Yeah, we did some winning now.
Yeah, of course. I remember that for sure. I just want to ask you, and we're gonna end off the show with our games and stuff like that. We'll do for those that's watching, like, what about the music? We'll do that next week.
That's what we doing. Okay.
Yeah, our top favorite albums. We'll do that next week for y'all. Y'all don't pay attention that long anyway. Kenyon Martin was on the Gill podcast. A little upset that Vince is getting his jersey retired before him. Do you think Kenyon Martin has like a legitimate gripe that his jersey should be retired, and it should have been retired before Vince's?
Hell no. Hell no.
What happens when you put these former players in front of the mic? They just
what is he talking about?
Saying other shit.
He said that he had. I don't know if you saw the clip. He said that he had more of an impact for the Nets organization than Vince did.
Now, Kenyon was a good player for the Nets, and he was a part of a team that went to the finals, I believe, in the 2000, right? So I understand where he's coming from. He's like, I impacted winning. Vince Carter is the greatest net, the second greatest net, because there's Irving. So the second greatest net of all time. That Vince Carter is the second greatest net of all time. Julius Irving played for the Nets. Julius Irving.
But we didn't see him play. We didn't see him play, so I don't even know how good he was.
Whatever, man. We gonna do that now. I ain't see Michael Jordan play. Y'all swear, y'all tell me he the greatest. I ain't see him up. You see, but no. In all seriousness, I think Vince Carter deserves all the flowers he's gotten, and for him to come out and say that and sound sour, like, we should retire number 6. Like what? Like Vince Carter embodied what it meant to be a net at a time where the team was just in transition, and we didn't have a star to rally around. He made rooting for the Nets cool. He made rooting for the Nets fun, a thing to do for people in New Jersey, and so he's always gonna have a special place in Nets fans' hearts. That Kenyon was great, but look, you play with Jason Kidd and you play with all these other guys too, like that were great on that team. Like it wasn't like it was just you, my guy. So we're gonna retire your jersey first. You were a role player. You were a role player on that team. Vince Carter was the guy. Vince Carter was the guy, a face of the franchise level player. So I don't think there's even a conversation to be had. I think Kenyon needs to stop drinking whatever he's drinking. Come to his senses. That's ridiculous. Just be happy for the guy. Vince deserves it. In a season where the Nets aren't going to have a lot of success, I'm looking forward to them retiring that jersey. I may try to be there. And
then off the show, do a little something different for Would You Rather. It's funny that it came up in conversation. We was talking about Stephen A. and Skip and Shannon. Would you rather sports personalities? Ryan Clark. Would you rather Ryan Clark?
Ryan Clark edition?
Ryan Clark edition.
Okay. Ryan Clark edition.
Yeah, I ain't want to do the booty jokers because then we just be going down a list of people like, yes, we rather him, yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah, that's
Ryan
fair.
Clark, somebody that's actually good, because if I said Skip, it would just be we would rather watch us than Skip. So I wasn't gonna do Skip.
Fair. So Ryan Clark or Stephen A is number one. Yes, we
Ryan
doing.
Clark or Stephen A.
That's not easy. That's
No.
not easy. Because Stephen A brings an energy to this thing that Ryan Clark simply does not. Ryan Clark just goes out there and says sensible things, and he's not that funny. And I think, look at what I'm talking about now. By the way, this is how
Wait,
sports
so
discourse
is
is
Stephen A funny? Is Stephen A funny, or is he just loud?
He's stupid loud. He's stupid and loud, and that can be funny. Does that make sense? He can say dumb things and be loud, and I can find the comedic aspect in it. I can enjoy it a little bit. And Stephen A's been doing this for a long time. He's been doing this for a long time. He's changed the way media sports is covered for the worse. People would say. I think he's had more of an impact. Who would I enjoy watching more talk about sports? I'm gonna say Stephen A. I think he just knows more about sports in general than Ryan Clark does too. I mean, hearing Ryan Clark talk about basketball reminds me of how football players just can't play basketball, and so it just kind of always annoys me hearing him talk about hoop a little bit. Like it's like, man, like nigga, you don't watch the joint for real. Like I don't really believe, you know what I mean? So I think he's more sensible. I don't really listen to Stephen A. either, but I'd probably rather listen to Stephen A. That's probably where I'd go with it.
All right, Austin Rivers, I see you.
Would you rather Ryan Clark, Draymond Green?
Ooh, Ryan Clark. I hate
He hates Draymond Green.
and Draymond Green. Like he talks so high and mighty. Like I don't Greg, I don't want to talk about it. You go ahead. Go ahead. I hate Draymond Green so much.
Ryan Clark don't move the needle for me like that. That's the thing. Like it's just me, my personal preference. You know what I'm saying?
But Draymond comes off as a hater. Like it doesn't even like come off like.
I agree.
Sure, he'll talk about X's and O's or like what people should do, but then like
you going on TV hating on Gobert.
He's hating on like everybody. So
yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. I'm probably going to take. There's more entertainment value in Draymond to me than Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark just go out there and say what you're supposed to say. I mean, that's cool. That's cool. I can go listen to a podcast for that. I ain't gotta watch TV for it. That's all I'm saying. So I'll probably take Draymond. I'll take Draymond. But if Draymond gonna say something stupid, move the needle every now and then, and I'll get to laugh at his stupidity.
I'm going to the next thing, but I'm choosing Ryan Clark in that situation. I love the Pivots podcast and where they take
podcast
and the serious topics, and respect to Shannon, respect to Fred, but Ryan's the face of that podcast, and he steers that ship in the right way. The questions that he asks, top tier. No disrespect to them, but you could tell those are more face value questions. But Ryan's here, Hall of Fame level with the questions and stuff like that, and he's carrying Shannon and Fred. My opinion.
That DeMar episode was really good.
Who would you rather, Ryan Clark, JJ Redick?
It depends on, I guess, what
JJ
we're
Redick
talking about, though. I mean,
I'll take JJ Redick, but I think Ryan Clark. You know what? He changed the way I look at Ryan Clark because I didn't think about the pivot and the success of the pivot and how great of a podcast it is. It is awesome. I really enjoy JJ Redick's work on his podcast. Specifically, and then obviously getting LeBron to do a podcast is pretty damn cool too. Like we've been waiting for that. So yeah, I'm gonna sit here. I'll probably say JJ, but I think it's close. And I think if you go RJ Ryan Clark, I totally understand where you're coming from.
I mean, if I'm trying to listen to like basketball and all that stuff, like sure, JJ Redick is easy. But like, I think in general, I still would take Ryan Clark. I think he does a really good job on the pivot. He does a good job on Get Up and when they're talking football and all that stuff. So I'd have to lean towards Ryan Clark. And he can be funny too. I mean, maybe you just you're not tapped in like that.
No, he can be funny. He's not funny. He's just, he ain't me. That's all I'm saying.
The entertainment
Come on.
factor. I can say that much. The entertainment factor isn't there as much comparing with some of these other people. So I get that on that aspect. Who would you rather, Ryan Clark? Last two. Who would you rather, Ryan Clark or Pat McAfee?
Ooh, Pat for sure.
Yeah, Pat McAfee is
I'd say Pat.
He's great.
I'd take Pat over probably anybody we've named. I mean,
Yeah, me too. I think
Stephen A.
Pat over most people.
I like him better than Stephen A. easily.
I totally agree with Miles. I go Pat. Pat has a charisma about him. What the kids call aura. I said that. He got aura. I'm taking Pat.
Who would you rather, Ryan Clark, last one, or Uncle Shay Shannon Sharp?
What? Take an Unk. Stop playing, man. I'm taking Unk every day. I'll take Ocho over him. Ocho and Unk. He's a little package deal. I'll take them both, man. Those guys are hilarious. They're hilarious. Their nightcap is actually hilarious. I gotta go with Shannon over Ryan Clark. If you want something serious and hard hitting, you want some Gale situation, maybe you go to Ryan Clark. I get that, but Shannon Sharp is hilarious. He is hilarious. He's my favorite sports personality. He's my favorite, even over Pat. I'd go with Shannon. I really enjoy him. The accent, all of it. He was made to do this. Maybe more so than even a Hall of Fame football career.
We talked about top duos. Speaking of duos, Shannon Sharp and Ocho or Cam and Mace?
Cam and Mace.
I don't think it's.
He probably doesn't even watch Cam and Mace. So
I don't. But Cam is clearly funny because when you went on CNN and did that nonsense, that was hilarious. I gotta admit. So he's clearly funny. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that's not it's not close. I just love Shannon and Ocho, but I watch them. I don't really watch Cam and Mace. Cam and Mace is for a different audience.
No,
that's it.
Elaborate.
Hey, give me. If we talking about Uncle Shay though, I need nightcap over Club Shay. Club Shay is it's getting really just. I feel like I'm sitting down with the ladies and it's just gossip talk. Like it's gone completely left. I like nightcap still. Shay.
I get that. That's fair.
Shay. That part no. Nightcap. Give me nightcap every single day over Shay. I don't got to see Shay ever, Club Shay ever again. This might get some debate. Last two things. Which decade has better music? 90s or 2000s?
Oh shit. 90s or 2000s. That's tough.
Okay, which one has better music? Just
I'm
like
90s.
overall, like
any. Yeah, he's just saying, yeah. I'm gonna say 90s, and there's only one reason why. For me, Michael's still doing his thing. 90s, he's still out here. Like you're still getting tail end Mike, which is still just amazing music, and there's something to the 90s and 80s having really good music that does sit with you pretty well. I mean, I enjoy it. I have a playlist dedicated to songs in that era alone. So I would probably say the 90s music is a bit better than what we got in the 2000s. But it's close. It's close. But I think 90s for me. And Mike tips the scale that much. I have that much respect for what he did.
I'm going to say the 2000s.
You knew. Iggy Zags, you know that shit.
No, I just think the music it started to grow and sure, music in the 90s had that old school feel. You can definitely, put your hat on Michael Jackson for that. But like 2000s, you're getting different groups. You're getting Jay-Z, you're getting NSYNC, you're getting Backstreet Boys, you're getting like rock. A lot of rock music out of that point in time.
What time? 90s or 2000s?
2000s.
Yeah. All right. I ain't got no complaints about that.
You're like getting Coldplay. Coldplay is at like
Not Coldplay.
Early Coldplay.
Yeah,
It's
not
okay. I know you don't. You listen to some music. You don't listen to Kendrick, but you listen to some music.
What's she talking about? You listen to Coldplay?
Yeah, you don't listen to Coldplay? That's crazy.
Nigga, there's like one song from Coldplay that I know by ear. I don't like that's one.
Which is
That's
crazy.
it. You see, you could,
I thought you had an ear for music, but
so in a sea of white at the Coldplay concert a couple years ago, Miles was the one black speck in there. The one. It was you, Miles. Miles. Look, I didn't leave. If a Coldplay was, here's why I look at music. If it sound good to me, if it sound good to the ear, no matter what it is, I rock with it. It don't matter what it is. You'd be surprised what I listen to. You'd be surprised.
okay, listen to some Coldplay then. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's not that hard. The early stuff is a lot better than their newer stuff. So
I'll give it a listen.
Hey, you mentioned MJ. You mentioned MJ. Before I do our last question, you mentioned MJ. Michael Jackson in a versus battle. Who would win, MJ or Drake?
Oh, what the? Mike MJ's gonna win that versus.
Yo, he's fighting it so badly.
No, right? I'm not though.
Drew.
No, you know,
it's Michael Jackson. Come on,
it's man. Not. It's not many people that Drake's gonna lose a versus to. If we want to be honest about it, Drake's not losing a versus to many people, including Kendrick, including him. There's not many people Drake's gonna lose a versus to. He will lose a versus to Michael Jackson. Yeah, he will. He will. I think that's.
Does anybody beat Mike?
No. Who?
I'm glad you added the little soliloquy of why Drake wouldn't lose to anybody
That's
else.
what people don't come here for me to just say yes or no to some shit. They don't come here for that.
In and off the show. Which career would you rather have? And we're talking about their career. On field, off field, everything. Which career would you rather have? Would you rather Tom Brady's career or Michael Jordan's career?
I don't know, sport to sport too. Like,
I'd say Michael Jordan. Like, he's a god. He's got his own brand. Literally,
they call him. They call you Black Jesus. That's crazy.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy. So
that's.
I mean, Tom Brady's great. I'm not taking nothing away from him, but like it'd be way cooler to be Michael Jordan in his heyday. Right?
This is easy. This is easy. Miles made the right choice. It is Michael Jordan, not just for the reasons that he named, the obvious stuff. I don't want Deflategate attached to my name. Sorry, I don't want Deflategate attached to my name. I don't. I can't do it. So. Just that stain on your leg, that stain right there that people don't talk about. At least Michael Jordan don't got that, so I'm going Michael Jordan.
And I mean, at least Michael Jordan can do jujitsu without having any.
You see, that's also another reason too. Actually, fair. It's crazy.
Just because y'all love LeBron so much, and I'm talking about our viewers, y'all love to talk about him so much. Who would you rather, LeBron's career or Derek Jeter's career?
Ooh, Derek Jeter. Yo. Single Jeter in New York? Stop for the Yankees? What are we talking about?
What are we talking about? You talking about women? You talking about women? You horny as hell. We talking about women.
What do you mean? His career on and off the field. That's what he said, right?
He said, no, that is not what he said. That's what you said?
He said on and
their
off.
Career. Everything encompassing their career. Who would you rather?
The dating history is a part of his career.
That's fair. That's legendary. That does tip the scale a bit. I gotta admit.
Like LeBron, I mean,
stuff of legend. LeBron was with Savannah the whole time. He's a wholesome man. What can we do?
True, but I'm sure Jeter had a lot more fun.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Look, if you're going to
got more rings too, so I mean, if we want to add that in there.
He played baseball though. It's
That's
baseball.
an 8-month sport. That's like you act like that's easy.
It's
You literally play every day.
it's not as
He said he played baseball.
it's not as sexy as basketball. I'll go with Bron, but the dating history does make it tough. I could go with. I understand that. I totally understand where Miles coming from. Dating history alone. Talk about the 5 championships in baseball. What's harder to do? Win an NBA championship or win an MLB, a World Series? I don't know. It's harder to hit in baseball.
We just got a question for the listeners to answer for that one. Which one is harder, winning an NBA championship or an MLB championship?
What's more physically taxing? It's clearly winning an NBA championship.
Word it how he worded it. Don't try to
you got to, but the physical toll it takes on your body is a part of the conversation. That's all I'm saying. We've been on here for an hour and 20. We can dip. I'm just telling you right now that an NBA championship is harder to attain than winning a World Series. That's all I'm saying.
Some would say in Derek Jeter's case, where you're playing majority of the 162 games in a season, that long season, that might be harder because regardless of the fact, 162 games, every single game, you have to be ready and you got to stay ready. Because if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.